Turkish Journal of Applied Social Work. I will read this article on behalf of QR code application using of the disabled peoples all over the world. My name is Özden Şahin from Sakarya University. Syrian child workers working in textile workshops, a field research in Bağcilar, Istanbul. Abstract. The aim of this research is to examine the working and living conditions of Syrian children aged 15 and younger working in textile workshops in Bağcilar region in terms of social work. The research process is 6 months in total, from November 1, 2017 to April 30, 2018. The research is based on qualitative research methods with in-depth interview. During the research, 32 people were individually interviewed and one focus group discussion was held in which a total of 35 people were interviewed. The interviews were conducted in Turkish, Arabic and Kurdish. The data were collected, recorded with the tape recorder and then analyzed with descriptive analysis methods. The observation notes for the field were also included in the study. According to the findings of the research, the child workers work on average 11 hours a day, 60 hours a week. The wages of participants vary between 500 and 1,200 Turkish liras. Long working hours, difficulties in working conditions, and malnutrition have led to many illnesses such as developmental disorders, asthma, arthralgia, pain in joints, fainting fit, and etc. in the participants. Some participants also reported exposure to physical and verbal violence. Male and younger participants were found to be exposed to more physical violence. The participants also stated that they had to share the economic burden of their families and thus felt compelled to work. There is a greater sense of responsibility in the families in which the father is absent or sick. According to the research data, most of the participants felt nostalgia and felt despair for the future. The participants sometimes felt that they were being excluded and alienated. Almost all of the participants expressed that they want to go to school, to get a profession and to integrate with the local culture. Keywords: child labor, immigration, social work, Syrian child workers, textile. Introduction. Globally, 218 million children between 5 and 17-year-old are in work life. Among them, 152 million are the victims of child labor. 73 million of these children work in hazardous child labor. Almost half of all children victims of child labor are aged between 5 and 11 years old. 42 million are 12-14 years old and 37 million are 15 and 17 years old. There are 88 million boys and 64 million girls in the child labor. 62% of all children in hazardous works are boys. Boys appear to face a greater risk of child labor than girls, but this may also be a reflection of underreporting of girls' work, particularly in domestic child labor. Child labor is globally employed 71% in agriculture, 17% in services, and 12% in the industrial sector. The number of children workers in the industrial sector appears to increase with the age of children. According to ILO data, 26.2% of the workers aged between 5-11, 22.6% of the workers aged between 12-14, 51.2% of the workers aged between 15-17 are employed in hazardous works. According to Turkish Statistical Institute data, 5.9% of the 15,240,000 27,000 children in the 6-17 age group work in an economic job. In other words, they are employed. This rate was also the same in 2060. The number of working children increased by 2,000 people in 2012. In Turkey, 44.8% of employed children in this age group live in urban areas, while 55.2% of them live in rural areas. 68.8% of the employed children are boys and 31.2% of them are girls. The rate of employed children was 2.5% in 2006. The rate of employed children in the 6-14 age group was 2.6% in 2012. According to 2012 report, 44.7% of the employed children work in agriculture, 24.3% in industry, and 31% in service. Regarding the weekly working hours of children in this 6-17 age group, it is 40 hours. Boys work 43.2 hours while girls work 33 hours averagely. The weekly working hours of children dropping out of school is found to be 54.3 hours. According to the 216 data of Turkish Statistical Institute, the rate of working children in the 15-17 age group was 20.8%. The rate was 20.3% in the 2017. The data obtained show that child labor continues to be a great concern all over the world. When the reasons for this situation are examined, it is seen that child labor is a phenomenon arising from the combination of many factors. Surveys show that poverty is the biggest problem in child labor. Poverty is influenced by many variables such as income and inequality, unemployment, inefficient use of resources, rapid population growth, and informal economy. Apart from poverty, other factors causing child labor are immigration, the inadequacy and inefficient use of educational opportunities, traditional viewpoints, unemployment, lack of legislation and supervision. The low education level of parents and parents' lack of responsibility towards their children are among the reasons of child labor. In this study, child labor will be discussed by putting more emphasis on immigration, which is one of the leading factors of child labor on the basis of rights of the children and human rights. Rights of the child are protected by many national and international legal arrangements. One of them is the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, adopted in 1989 by majority vote. The Convention on the Rights of the Child consists of 54 articles and includes the rights to survival, protection, development, and participation. The right to protection also includes the right to protection from all exploitation, neglect, and abuse. Special protection for refugee children, security for working children, protection of children who have been subjected to abuse or exploitation, and their rehabilitation are also discussed within this context. Regarding the rights of asylum seekers and refugee children under general titles, these are the access right to education, the access right to health service, the right to social services and social assistance, the right to respect for private life. The right to education is protected with the 26th article of Universal Declaration of Human Rights dated 1948. Article 13 of the United Nations Convention on Economic and Cultural Rights, Article 28 of the Convention on the Rights of the Child, Article 22 of the Convention relating to the social status of refugees dated 1951. In addition, the second article of the Education and Training Law, number 222, states as follows: primary education shall be given in primary education institutions. Education is compulsory for all girls and boys at educational age. Education is free of charge in public schools. According to the 27th of article of Asylum and Refugee Regulation dated 1994, refugees and asylum seekers are subjected to general provisions related to their education and working, limited to the period of their stay in our country. This article states the right and freedom of education and working to not as compulsion. The right to health is guaranteed with the first clause of the 25th article of Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 1, 12th article of the International Convention on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, and 24th article of the United Conventions on the Rights of the Child and the United UN Committee on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. According to the amendments made in the Social Insurance and the General Health Insurance Law number 5510 on April 4, 2013, people who have applied for the international protection or who have the international protection status and people who are recognized as stateless are also under the coverage of general health insurance. In addition, foreign citizens have the right to apply to the Social Assistance and Solidarity Foundation for health expenditures exceeding their budgets. Child asylum seekers have the right to benefit from social services and social assistance. This study is a field research aiming to address the problems of child workers employed in the textile workshops in Bağcilar region, Istanbul, and to contribute to remedy this problem. The original value of study lies its in-depth analysis of a single sector. The trust relationship established with interviews, the length of the study time in the field, observation notes, and family interviews increase the reliability of research data. Participants all know Turkish, but interviews were held in their own languages, Kurdish and Arabic, when they had difficulties expressing themselves, thus the problems were stated more clearly. At the same time, the study aims to approach the problem of child labor from the perspective of social work and to provide a critical perspective to the issue on the basis of rights of child and human rights. It is hoped that this study will fill a gap in the literature and will guide new studies in this subject. Materials and methods. Research methods. In-depth interview method from qualitative research methods was employed in this study. The main purpose of the interview is to try to understand the inner world of the individual. In this technique, it is aimed to reach embedded information such as attitudes, experiences, thoughts, intentions, mental perceptions, interpretations, and reactions of the individual. Interview techniques have different techniques such as structured, semi-structured, unstructured, and focus group techniques. In this study, semi-structured interview form was used. Interview form covers topics relevant to the research contents. This form allows the researcher to ask questions prepared beforehand, as well as to add new questions at the points she or he wants to get detailed information. During the interview, it is important to allow the participant to express himself as she or he wants. At the end of the research, 211 pages of data were obtained, and these data were analyzed by descriptive analysis methods. Findings were coded according to certain themes, relationships were established between them, and the data were summarized and interpreted. Direct quotation is used when more striking information is desired to be presented. Observation notes were also included in the findings. Population and sample of research. The research process has lasted for 6 months in total, from November 1, 2017 to April 30, 2018. The research population consists of children aged 15 years and younger working in textile workshops in Bağcilar region, Istanbul. Bağcilar region was selected due to the fact that it is one of the counties with the highest number of textile workshops. This region was preferred due to the high number of immigrants, population, and workshops. Snowball sampling was used in the research and 35 participants were reached. 12 of the participants were female and 24 of the participants were male. The research was carried out in the following 6 neighborhoods: Mahmut Bey neighborhood, Fevzi Çakmak neighborhood, Çiftlik neighborhood, Göztepe neighborhood, Demirkapı neighborhood, and Fatih neighborhood. Research ethics. Research was conducted by the researchers who can speak Turkish, Kurdish, and Arabic. Before the research, detailed information related to the subject was given to participants in their own languages. Their families were contacted and they were required to sign a voluntary consent form. The interviews lasted for 45 minutes on average, and the conversations were recorded with the tape recorder. The tape recorder was turned off when the participants felt uncomfortable, and interviews were continued with taking notes. Conversation data was coded as participant abbreviated SP 1, 2, and age. During the research, a maximum of 3 working children from the same family were interviewed. Limitations. Some participants, 4 families who had been interviewed before, decided not to participate in the study as they were below the legal age limit and their families didn't have identity cards. One other obstacle in reaching to the participants is their long working hours. Findings. Demographic data. Within the scope of the research, 32 people were individually interviewed and 1 focus group discussion was held. Thus, a total of 35 people were interviewed. While the mothers of all participants are alive, the fathers of the 6 participants died during the war. 3 participants' parents are separated. 1 participant lives separated from her or his parents. Fathers of the 5 participants cannot work due to the illness. The number of siblings of the participants is as follows. 1 participant has no sibling. 5 participants have 1 sibling. 5 participants have 2 siblings. 9 participants have 3 siblings. 3 participants have 4 siblings. 3 participants have 5 siblings. 1 participant has 6 siblings. 3 participants have 8 siblings. 4 participants have 10 siblings. 1 participant has 11 siblings. The general data on pre-migration and post-migration. When asked about their residences before the migration, 16 participants stated Afrin, 9 participants stated Aleppo, 2 participants stated Idlib, 2 participants stated Damascus. 6 participants didn't specify their previous residences. All of the participants were residing in Bağcilar region county, Istanbul, during the research. When asked about the province where they first migrated, 26 participants stated Istanbul Bağcilar, where they were currently residing. 4 of the participants first migrated to Kayseri, 1 participant first migrated to Bursa, 1 participant first migrated to Şanlıurfa, 1 participant first migrated to Gaziantep, and 2 participants first migrated to Esenyurt, Istanbul. Those who migrated to Bağcilar region from other states or counties stated that they migrated in order to find a job and get better salary. The length of the participant's residence in Turkey varies. One participant has been in Turkey for 8 months. 3 participants have been in Turkey for 2 years. 4 participants have been in Turkey 3 years. 4 participants have been in Turkey for 4 years. 14 participants have been in Turkey for 5 years. 2 participants have been in Turkey for 6 years. 1 participant has been in Turkey for 7 years. 6 of the participants didn't give information about their length of residence. The participants were asked, "Are you receiving help from any institutions in Turkey?" The 6 of the participants stated that they were receiving education support, meal card, etc. from Kızılay, Red Crescent, or municipality. 29 of the participants stated that they didn't receive help or had no idea about the situation. Qualitative data analysis, evaluations about the situation before the pre-migration. Concerning their evaluations about the situation pre-migration, many participants expressed longing for the past. Participants expressed that they missed the pre-war period and missed family and relatives. One participant expressed her or his desire to return as follows. "I was very happy because everyone was with me. I had friends. My grandfather was with me. My uncle was with me. Everyone was with me. I was very happy. But we came here and we are like strangers here." Another participant mentioned that the economic situation of her or his family was very well in Syria and expressed that she or he missed her or his house. Another participant also stated that their economic situation was well. "It was beautiful. We were going to school. We could go outside. Only me, my father was working there. We had a house. We had our store. We had everything. But here, all of us working and we cannot still make ends meet." Another participant expressed her or his longing for days when she or he didn't have to work. It was observed that participants longed for the days they attended to school and they could be together with their families and social circles. Concerning their views related to pre-migration process, some participants smiled, some participants shared their memories. In addition, some participants closely witnessed the war. It was observed that participants who closely witnessed war expressed no longing or less longing for their country. A participant expressed her or his experiences as follows. "They were murdering people. We were looking at it from the window just like that. For example, they shot her or him and then grabbed her or him from her or his feet and threw into the building. We couldn't stand it. We were so young. I was 9 years old. My brother was 7 years old. My mother couldn't do anything. They were just 3 of us. Me, my mother, my brother." The same participant stated that her or his father had been missing at that time and then they were informed about his death. Evaluations about the daily life, social harmony, adaptation post-migration. When asked about whether they had adapted to daily life, it was observed that learning Turkish provided a great advantage to them. Many of the participants stated that they learned Turkish from their siblings or friends at work. One participant expressed this situation as follows. "I had a Turkish friend. I asked her or him, 'What letter is this?' She or he told me the letter. I kept that in my mind." Another participant stated that he learned to speak Turkish from her or his elder brother, but he or she couldn't write. When asked about their relationships with their social environment, some participants thought that they were exposed to verbal violence and discrimination, while some of them thought they were in harmony with the social environment. A participant who thought she or he was exposed to verbal violence expressed her or his experience as follows. "For instance, when someone comes near me, they say something like 'Syrian boom boom.' Another participant stated that the children in the park behaved them badly and told them, 'You are Syrians, go away.' The same participant said that Turkish children didn't want to be friends with them. Another participant stated that her or his boss in the workshop stated them, 'You came here and ruined this place.' Another participant said that gypsy children beat her or his siblings every day. Another participant said that some of the Delhi dealers yelled at them and thus she or he felt discrimination. One participant stated that they didn't make any noise, they just went to workshop. Some of the female participants mentioned that they had no Turkish friends except one or two. Some participants believed that the exclusion decreased over time. For example, a participant told, Turkish people behave us nicely, but when we first came here, they behaved badly. They are nice now. When we first came here, they treated us badly. They made fun of us, saying Suri Suri, and I always felt bad. Some participants mentioned that there were good as well as bad people in their environments. Another participant stated that they had a fight with some Turkish people, but after 2 days they made up. Some of the participants said that they expected to be treated like friends, like siblings, and they wanted everyone to behave them nicely, not to insult them. The participants were asked, what would you want to change if you had a magic wand? A participant answered as follows, I would like to change myself. I wanted to be same with Turkish. Participants were asked, what do you do in your free time? Some of the participants mentioned that they were traveling to different districts of Istanbul. There were also participants who didn't leave Bağcilar as they didn't have identity cards. It was found that female participants traveled less in the city than male participants. For example, one participant mentioned that boys played the ball outside on their free days, while girls were either at home or at friends' houses. Some of the female participants said that they gathered in houses and played folklore. Sometimes they attended to weddings. When asked if participants would like to return to their country, most participants stated that they would like to return if the conditions improve. Another participant mentioned that her or his father considered returning. One participant said that he or she didn't want to be in Istanbul despite loving the city, as she or he had to work. There were also participants who didn't want to return to their countries. Another participant stated that her or his uncle died a martyr and that she or he didn't want to return to Syria as there were bombs here. Another participant reported that she or he saw Taksim, Eminönü and Kadıköy. She or he liked Istanbul and wanted to live there. There were participants who said that they missed their friends in Syria and the school, but were hesitant whether they wanted to return or not. Evaluations about the work. Participants in the survey reported that they were working as sewing machine users or errand boys or girls in textile workshops. These workshops usually produce sweaters, pants, shirts or socks. The number of employees in the workshop between 14, 15 and 50 persons. None of the children working in the workshops has insurance. The lowest working age at the workshops is 9. The participants expressed that they didn't like the lunches served at the workshop and they mostly went their houses to eat lunch. When asked about their reasons to work, the majority of the participants mentioned that they worked as they felt compelled to. Their mother or father was ill and they took all the responsibility of the house. They took care of their younger siblings and they had no other choice. Boys were observed to feel this pressure more. One participant stated that she or he started to work as she or he couldn't be enrolled to the school when her or his family first migrated to Turkey. Wages. According to the research data, wages vary between a minimum of 500 Turkish liras and a maximum of 1,200 Turkish liras per month. One participant had previously worked for 400 Turkish liras in Esenyurt, which is another district of Istanbul. A participant working with her or his brother said that she or he could get 300 or 350 Turkish liras if she or he worked alone. A participant who stated that she or he earned 500 Turkish liras attributed the low wage to the fact that she or he was Syrian. Sewing machine users earned more than errand boys or girls. It was determined that the wage increases with the age. Some participants working on Saturdays stated that They could get partial overtime fee or couldn't get at all. Some participants stated that they could get overtime fee 5 Turkish liras per hour. Some of the participants said they had wage deduction for 2 or 3 days when they couldn't go to work for 1 day. Working hours. It was found that the participants worked 11 hours on average during the week. Working hours were generally reported as 8.30, 19.30. During the working hours, apart from the lunch break, nearly 60 minutes, participants had two breaks at 10 and 15 for 5 minutes. Working hours and durations can vary. There were participants who worked 10.30 minutes hours apart from their working hours, while some participants stated that they worked 12 or 12.30 hours, including their working hours. Some participants stated that they worked till 11 or 15 on Saturdays, and they sometimes worked overtime till 17. One participant said that they were made to work like slaves. 2 participants stated that they didn't work on weekends. Violence. Some participants stated that they were exposed to verbal and physical violence. According to research data, male workers were exposed to more physical violence than female workers. According to research data, as the age increases, the physical violence towards boys gives way to verbal violence. It was observed that many of the participants had to often change jobs for reasons such as physical, verbal violence, and low wages in the workplace. When participants were asked about their social relations at the work, they stated that they often didn't get along with head workers and bosses, but they had good relationships with their colleagues. Evaluations about the problem. Evaluations about other problems. Recording. The fact that families who were unrecorded or recorded in other provinces revealed that the recording problem still continues. There was a participant who couldn't apply for family reunification due to lack of identification. Education. Participants expressed their desire and longing for school during the interviews. Some participants said they were late for school. For example, a participant expressed this situation as follows. When we first arrived here, I would go to the school 4 or 5 years ago. That is to say, I used to love school. The school didn't accept Syrian children. I couldn't go to school. 3 or 4 years passed, then they called us to school. I didn't want to go to school because I was working and I was older. I couldn't go to school. I was helping my father. I was working. Another participant said, I tried to get enrolled to school, but the school refused. Then, after 3 years, the school started to accept Syrian children, but I couldn't go. One participant stated that they went to local authority for her or his 7-year-old sibling could go to school, but they couldn't get an answer. Another participant said her or his sister was afraid of going to school as she was afraid of fights in the school. Some of the participants reported that their siblings could go to the school with the Red Cross support, even though they couldn't go to school themselves. The working participants stated that they saw their friends who went to school as lucky and they wanted to be in their place. When asked in what language they would like to be instructed if they could go to school, participants usually choose Turkish as instructional language. Apart from participants who wanted to be instructed in Turkish and Arabic, there was one participant who preferred Arabic as she or he couldn't learn Turkish. Health, sheltering, and security problems. Participants expressed they suffered from waist pain, back pain, foot and leg pain, asthma due to the dust, and suffered from problems in their eyes. One participant mentioned that her or his sibling had a hole in her or his heart, and they couldn't go to hospital as their records were in Kayseri. Another participant stated that sometimes she or he trembled and fainted. The same participant told that she or he constantly woke up crying. She or he didn't want to return to Syria as there were war and dead people. Participants stated they couldn't get a day off due to the illness. They couldn't go to the hospital, and most often they recovered by buying medications from pharmacy. It was expressed that children got frequently sick during the winter due to the heating problems in the houses. There was one participant who exhibited signs of trauma, and she or he was in need of physical treatment for her or his foot. This participant stated that she or he didn't apply to any health facility. When discussing health problems, it would be appropriate to explain the sheltering conditions. Participants are known to reside usually in the basement houses with poor heating system. The fact that too many people live in the same house makes it easier to spread infectious diseases. Participants were asked, "Do you have any fear?" Some of them were afraid of getting lost and were afraid of their family members, especially their younger siblings, being kidnapped. During interviews, it has been observed that these types of incidents have been experienced in the neighborhood, so that the participants don't feel safe, especially the families with no identities are at a greater risk. It has been determined that some participants witnessed the theft and the extortion, and thus they fear. Another participant expressed that she or he felt safe in Turkey. "I became happy after we came here because there is a peace and safety here. I feel safe. Nobody shot us or drove us out of our houses." Future expectations. When asked, "Do you have any plans or dreams for future?" most of the participants answered, "I don't have any, that's fine." When participants were given some time to consider on the question, they gave the following answers. Some participants dreamed to return to their own country. One participant said she or he dreamed setting up her or his own business as people got constantly angry at her or him at workshop. One participant dreamed of seeing her or his mother living in Beirut. Some participants dream of going to Europe. Some participants dream of bicycles, motorcycles, and cars. One of the participants said he or she once dreamed of being a doctor, playing the piano, and being loved by everybody. Discussion. Child labor is not a new problem in Turkey and in the world, but immigration is known to increase this problem. The war that started in Syria in March 2011 led to an immigration wave. Turkey has also suffered severely from this condition as the country hosting the most Syrian refugees in temporary protection status. Informal employment and child labor increased during this period. This study was conducted with the participation of the child workers under the age of 15 in Istanbul Bağcilar region. It was observed that children have been working as they felt obliged to, and they should support their families financially. Their parents said they wanted to send their children to school, but for economic reasons it was not possible. According to a study conducted in Kilis with the child's work is welcomed by the parents. Families think that children are being prepared for the future as they cannot continue their education due to the poverty. It has been found that the wages of the children working in the workshops vary between 450 Turkish liras and 1,200 Turkish liras per month. It is observed that there is an increase in the wage of the children with older ages and good command of Turkish. According to a survey conducted by Lordoğlu and Aslan with 165 Syrian children in three cities, 15-17 year old sisters working in textile industry earn 750 Turkish liras per month. In the same research, it was observed that a participant working in a textile workshop in Istanbul worked for 12 hours a day and earned 800 Turkish liras. No difference was found with regards to the girls and boys in this study. According to the research, Turkish workers who do the same job have insurance and earn 1,250 Turkish liras per month. In this survey conducted in Bağcilar, some participants also said that they were paid less because they were Syrian. According to the observation notes, the reasons such as being below the legal age limit, having no identity, not knowing the language results in wage inequality. In another research conducted in Antakya, a textile workshop owner expressed that she or he had previously paid 200 Turkish liras per week to the overlocker while paying 50 Turkish liras per week for the same job, and stated that every workshop owner decreased their wages. In this research, the lowest working age in the textile workshop was 9. Fieldwork observation notes also support this situation. It was stated that those who were younger were getting less wages and they were exposed to more bullying. The fact that participants cannot fully fulfill the physical development required by their age is among the other findings of the study. Duyar and Özener also stated that children who started early to the work cannot show normal development in terms of height and weight. According to the survey data, the participants don't eat well although they work very long hours. Participants stated that they didn't like the food in the workshops and they went to their houses during lunch break. Some participants were observed to suffer from waist and back pain due to the workload. Some participants suffered from asthma due to the dust in the workshop. Also, the families mentioned that their children had some psychological problems. According to the study conducted by Harunoğulları in Kilis, some of the children were working in unhealthy and bad working conditions, harmful for human dignity, and they were exposed to physical, psychological, and social pressure. This situation creates an obstacle to the social development of the children. The children who cannot do the same things with their peers, who cannot get education, who cannot play, who are separated from their friends develop inferiority complex, which negatively affects their psychology. Another important finding of the study is physical and verbal violence that children were exposed to. Girls stated that they were exposed to verbal violence rather than physical violence, and the boys were exposed to verbal violence more than girls. Boys stated that they often didn't get along with the head workers and bosses, but they had a good relationship with their colleagues. Girls have stated that as the number of female workers is low in the workshop, they were uncomfortable with the way male workers look at them. According to the observation notes and family interviews, women working in the textile workshops may have to leave work due to the harassment. For this reason, girls were usually employed in places where their fathers or their elder brothers worked. Regarding their social relations, some of the participants stated that they are mostly with the Syrians, and some participants mentioned that they have a few Turkish friends. Some participants indicated that they were subject to exclusion from time to time. One participant stated that if she or he had an opportunity, she or he would like to do the same things Turkish people do. This statement reveals the alienation felt by the participants. According to the research conducted by Harunoğulları in Kilis, Syrian immigration children are faced with various problems such as identity problems in society, otherness, social and cultural incompatibility, falling into contempt, exclusion, working in low-wage jobs, unemployment, etc. It has been observed that children want to spend time with their own people rather than local people in order to cope with such problems, to protect their identity, culture, and language. It has been observed that the boys participating to the study are more socialized than the girls, and boys spend more time with Turkish people. Girls spend more time in the house and with their families. When asked what would you like to do if you have a magic wand in your hand, the participants gave answers often related to family. These answers indicate that children assumed a parental role in the family and felt more responsibility. This responsibility increases especially when the father is absent or cannot work due to the sickness. It was observed that a lot of persons were in despair for future. One person stated how she or he lost hope for beautiful days with the following sentence: "I would think that it was a dream and I would sleep again." While the vast majority of participants mentioned the desire to go back to school, some participants said they wanted it, but they thought they were too late for the school. When asked if you had the chance to go to the school, did you want to be instructed in Turkish or Arabic? The majority of participants stated that they wanted to be instructed in Turkish or in two languages, which indicates that the participants care about social harmony. The vast majority of participants expressed their longing for the past, especially for the days when they could go to the school. They expressed their desire to return to their country and see their relatives and friends. It was found that the participants who witnessed the war, who lost close relatives, less wanted to return to their country. A participant who was abandoned by her or his parents and was found to show traumatic symptoms stated that she or he had erased Syria from her or his mind, changed her or his name, and only befriended Turkish people. Conclusion and suggestions. This study is a field research aiming to address the problems of child workers employed in textile workshops and to contribute a remedy for this problem. According to the research data, participants work in workshops in jobs that are not suitable for their age, work for long hours and for low wages, and they cannot benefit from many rights although guaranteed by laws such as education, health, nutrition, etc. New regulations should be made to stop violations of rights of child for working children. According to Snowbar, it is extremely important to fully identify and restructure the deficiencies in the child protection law in countries accepting refugee children. In addition, supervision on working age and working condition should be increased. Inspections in accordance with the Article 71 of Labor Law No. 4857 should be conducted. According to this article, the employment of children under the age of 15 is prohibited. Even if the problem is not solved completely, it is very important that the problem is faced should be put forward to produce solutions. In order to minimize the problem, child labor should be discussed together with poverty, unemployment, inequality, failure of the education system, age discrimination, and other reasons. While the development plans and programs are being made, the factors such as fair income distribution and the development of human resources should be considered together with the economic development. The development of macro policies to prevent poverty is extremely important. It should be kept in mind that the right to education is one of the basic rights of a child, and that supporting education plays an important role in preventing child labor. According to SETA data, among the school-age children, the schooling rate is 59%, while the remaining 41% of children don't go to school. The schooling rate is 51% for boys and 49% for girls. These data show that education should be supported. The recording problem has been found to continue in the fieldwork. Informing families about recording is necessary for the access of all family members to services. In addition, it is necessary to increase the number of Turkish reading and writing courses to support the children who couldn't attend to school when they first come to country and now feel late by providing them with compensation programs. It should not be also forgotten that important support activities were carried out by Republic of Turkey in the social service work centers for the 3.6 million Syrian immigrants in spite of the great immigration wave and concomitant problems. Thanks section. Dear Professor Gülay Günlük Şenesen, we are grateful for your advice and assistance, especially at the beginning of the research. We also would like to thank Meryem Cafer for support throughout the research. And we want to thank Göztepe Neighborhood Headman Mehmet Küpçük as last.